Adaptation is a 2002 dramedy. It is directed by Spike Jonze with a screenplay by Charlie Kaufman and Donald Kaufman, based on The Orchid Thief by Susan Orlean.
It stars Nicolas Cage, Meryl Streep, Chris Cooper, and Tilda Swinton.
With a budget of $19 million, this had a box office take of around $32.8 million.
With a tomato meter rating of 91% and an audience score of 85%.
While technically based on The Orchid Thief by Susan Orlean, Adaptation really centers around Charlie Kaufman struggling to adapt the book into a film. Honestly, I feel that this movie is at its best when you go in pretty much blind. So if you haven't seen it yet, I really don't want to tell you a lot more as far as plot wise than what I've already said. What I will say is I love this movie. I think it's smart. I think it's funny. I think it is incredibly well acted. And as I just said, I think that it gives you a lot to think about. I've realized that I am actually a Charlie Kaufman fan. I did not realize until revisiting this movie that Charlie Kaufman's the same guy that wrote Eternal Sunshine, and of course being John Malkovich, as there are like scenes in the background of this movie. And then also I'm thinking of Ending Things. I kind of forgot that was Charlie Kaufman as well.
Mm-hmm. When I saw that was Charlie Kaufman, I was like, "Oh, that figures."
Yeah. So I've realized that I'm definitely a fan of his writing style. And with that being said, this movie is one of the ones that 2 decades ago solidified that I love what he does. So of course, to give this a verdict, I do have to give this one a very solid yes. I think that it is. As I said, just incredibly well done. I think that it's all around, has great performances and is executed very, very well, and also is just incredibly interesting and unique. Where do you land on this one?
It's funny because I think that unique is or groundbreaking is like an overused term. It should go like in the swear jar for like movies or movie reviews. But in this case, I think
unprecedented.
Oh God! But in this case, I think you're using the term really accurately. I mean, I agree. This movie is really cool in that Charlie makes fun of movies. He makes fun of movie making. He makes fun of himself. He makes fun of the people involved in making films. He makes fun of the idea of making an adaptation from a book in general, but there's also a degree of seriousness to it. There's a degree of self-reflection. There's a degree of introspection to the movie, and so much of it is fucking hilarious. There's like fourth wall breaks and eighth wall breaks and 16th wall breaks and 64th wall breaks. Like there's all kinds of wall breaks bigger than the fourth wall that I didn't know existed that occur in this movie, and it seems like a stupid idea. It really, really does. But dude, if they ever did it, great. I mean, even involving John Malkovich and some of the cast from John Malkovich and like all of that shit was fucking great. So for
Kathy
me,
Keener is in my house right now.
That was a funny line too. But for me, this one, it's a definite yes, for sure. Even if you don't like kind of weird movies, I think you'll find something in this film that you'll enjoy.
This may be like the gateway drug to weird movies, because I think this one is like accessible enough that someone who isn't really into weirder stuff could like this movie, and it could be like this and Eternal Sunshine. I think are kind of along those same lines, but yeah.
Yeah,
so
there's
go ahead.
There's a point where, and there's a spot in my notes that it's a thing that happens in the film, and it's a thing that I kind of wrote down, a thought that I had that I'd like to circle back and actually talk about Eternal Sunshine. So at some point, I'll bring that bit up again, and we can chat about that movie too.
Yeah. Well, not that this is a movie you really could easily spoil, but we will. Yeah, let's bring Spoiler Terry out now and get into some deeper conversation about it. So